Okay, so I've done quite a few theory type videos, but I don't think I've ever done a Once Upon a Time one. And if I did, it's been a long time. And so I figured, you know what? I found this article on screenrant.com of the 25 Once Upon a Time 25 Once Upon a Time fan theories so crazy they might be true. Well, naturally, Once Upon a Time is a show that left a lot of unanswered questions. And so maybe there's some theories that can answer those. Or they're really bizarre. One way to find out. Let's get to the article. Okay. Prince Eric is Hook's real father? I'm sorry, what? You sure about that? It's a fun theory spanning more than fanciful nautical elements of the show together with darker ones. What if Hook's real father were Prince Eric of the Little Mermaid fame? This theory involves Eric abandoning Hook or vowing to return for him. Maybe that's why Hook doesn't trust mermaids. Theories aren't limited to the show either. There are those regarding the animated Little Mermaid story, which postulate Captain Hook taking out Ariel's mother. What does this have to do with anything? This could make sense, given his villainous nature and the mermaids present in Peter Pan. What are we talking about? Seriously, what are we talking about? There can't be people that believe this, right? Prince Eric is Hook's real father. Hook is a 300-year-old pirate. And Prince Eric is probably a 30-something-year-old prince. The math ain't mathin'. It ain't mathin'. Huh? And then we try to tie it in with, like, well, the animated Little Mermaid has the theory that Captain Hook murdered, like, Ariel's mother. What does it have to do with anything? I'm sorry, but no, this doesn't make any sense. No. Absolutely not. This doesn't make any sense. Jefferson is a Time Lord. Probably. Definitely a portal hopper. Jefferson, aka the Mad Hatter, is one of the show's most wasted characters. True dat. Given a highly intriguing story and one of the most exciting episodes, his saga resolved too quickly and was never revisited, leaving fans wanting more. They also craved a better explanation of his travels. Some fans up and decided that Jefferson is simply a Time Lord who lost his wife in a time war. A convenient way to explain his ability to travel through space and time, not to mention recovery from headlessness. I mean, yeah, he did do that, didn't he? Fans have spun this theory about everyone from Miss Frizzle of the Magic School Bus to Mary Poppins. And we were doing so well with this theory. So it's no surprise that Jefferson inspired a similar hypothesis. Oh, okay. So the theory is, spun about Miss Frizzle and Mary Poppins. Okay. That's not where I thought this was going. I thought we were trying to say that Jefferson was Miss Frizzle or Mary Poppins, and I'm like, what are we talking about? Okay. We started off questionable, and now we've moved into... It's plausible. Yeah. Yeah, it's plausible. I think it works in a weird sort of way. It works. I'm not mad at it. It makes sense, which is more than I can say for the first theory, so we have arrived. The Wicked Witch is really Rumpelstiltskin's daughter. Probably. Although they did have a little romance going on, and that's gonna be a no from me. No, thank you. Moving on. Yikes. Okay. It's so disappointing to admit that Jonathan, Cora's one-time lover, is truly Zelina's father, but it does explain why Cora gave her up. Yeah, the show told us. I mean, the show kind of outright told us. That's why Cora gave Zelina up, because Jonathan was Zelina's father and not a prince, and it didn't fit Cora's master plan, which is why Regina exists. Yeah. What we'd all love to imagine is a world in which Cora and Rumpelstiltskin had Zelina as a daughter. I mean, do we really want to love to imagine that? Okay. I don't know if love is the word I would use. But it could be fun. So, had Cora chosen her gilded goblin love... I can't read. Had Cora chosen her gilded goblin-like lover over royalty, where would any of the characters be today? Well, Regina wouldn't exist. The pair easily made the most interesting couple on the show. Did they, though? I mean, okay, they were an interesting couple. The most interesting? We still yearn for that happily ever after between Cora, Rumple, and their potential daughter, Zelina. I mean, look, I ain't yearning for it. I mean, okay. Could it be possible? Well, I haven't figured out all the timey-wimey nonsense of Once Upon a Time. And timeline-wise. I guess. Makes sense. It could happen. But then the show went and was like, Zelina and Rumple, they got this thing going on. And it's like, if he's her father, that's too close in the family tree, if you know what I'm saying. And while we didn't actually see them do anything, it is implied. And no. But I think if Zelina and Rumple didn't have that thing going on, I mean, I'd be down for Rumple being Zelina's father. Cora and Rumple, they had a thing. Rumple also had a thing with Zelina and Regina, and man, he went through that family, didn't he? I guess it's a good thing that he's related to Henry, because that'd be weird. But yeah, I mean, I don't hate this theory. I kind of love it. Aside from the romance angle between Rumple and Zelina, if I choose to ignore that bit, which I do often, because that was weird, I like it. I've talked myself into liking it despite the family tree and things we should not be doing within the family tree. But, yeah. Why not? Works for me. Madam Mim was a dark one. Did Madam Mim even exist on the show? What are we talking about here? The failure to include Madam Mim. Where do people come up with this stuff? A character that was never introduced in the show was a dark one. I mean, I guess if they were never in the show, it can't be disproven. Anyways, the failure to include Madame Mim of the Sword and the Stone fame is one of the show's biggest letdowns. I mean, yeah, arguably. But many fans have theories about how she may have been included after all. Well, do tell. Some fans speculate that Madame Mim was one of the many Dark Ones or even the teacher of Maleficent. How did we get here? Which might explain a lot, does it? Madame Faustina is also one of the show's coolest yet underused witches. Who? Perhaps Mim was morphed into that character. Okay. Sure. One of the worst consequences of the lack of Mim was that there was no epic battle like a shape-shifting duel between Mim and Merlin. Well, Merlin was barely a character in the show, so where would it have happened? Where? Okay, so I don't remember who Madame Faustina is. I really don't. I genuinely don't. But sure. I mean, look, it's not a stretch to think Madame Mim could have been a dark one. I mean, it's Madame Mim. Of course she probably was. It's not the worst theory on this list. The bar is underground, so it's pretty easy to clear. But, yeah. I think it's gonna have to be, maybe from me. Emma is the Swan Princess. Didn't we already cover this? Wasn't it kind of already that we just sort of established that she was? Emma's last name has been cause for speculation since the show's inception. No, it hasn't. They literally explained it to us. She got it from the Ugly Duckling story. Despite the fact that the coincidental nature of the Swan surname has been repeatedly confirmed, fans refuse to let this one go. Okay? Why give Emma such a fairy tale name if she's not the Swan Princess? Y'all, I don't know. Realistically, it's probably a good thing she's not the traditional Swan Princess who, despite being kind and brave, really doesn't hold a candle to Emma Swan on a good day. I mean, yeah. Even so, a little bit of a twist with the tale could have been fun to witness. Fine. I mean, sure. I mean, at this point, it makes sense in a weird way. Like, it does make sense. Yeah, sure. This is just what I'm going with. Yeah, sure. The Hocus Pocus witches are part of the Coven of Eight. Sure. I mean, at this point, yeah. Makes sense. If any Disney characters are included in Once Upon a Time, fans would much rather see Winnie, Sarah, and Mary Sanderson than, say, the cast of Frozen. We're still hating on the Frozen arc. I don't hate the Frozen arc. Okay. No hating on the gorgeous animated story, but the Sanderson witches are fabulous, underused, and deserving of the spotlight. They have 2 movies where they are the central focus of said movies. Okay. As long as it's not direct sunlight. I mean, yeah, that's fair. A favorite fan discussion involves postulating who the members of the Coven of Eight in Once Upon a Time were. Okay, well, there was Mother Gothel, Drusilla. That's it. Although we know some identities like Gothel and Regina. Regina? Zelina, not Regina. I don't remember Regina being part of the Coven, but then again, that's season 7, and that's a blur, so who knows? Others remain hidden. Guessing that the identities could have been these wicked witches is too much fun to pass up. I mean, yeah, cool. The show didn't do anything with it, so do I care? Do I care if the Sanderson sisters are part of the Coven of Eight if the show didn't bother to give me the Sanderson sisters as part of the Coven of Eight? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's fun to think about. It's fun to believe, and it very well could be. But if the show didn't give it to me, why do I care? That's where I'm at. Emma is Elizabeth Swan and Hook is Jack Sparrow. Guys, I give up with this theory. This theory is ridiculous. Orlando Bloom fans might riot over this theory, but what if Elizabeth Swan were actually Emma Swan and Jack Sparrow's actual identity was Captain Hook? Absolutely not. Given the Disney promotion woven into the series, it's plausible, especially given how few coincidences there are on the show. How careful the writers are with naming characters and Hook's attraction to Emma. We're not doing it. Fans love this explanation and frequently create art and stories inspired by the crossover. Aside from the obvious, there's not much other evidence to make the connection, but plenty of Once Upon a Time arcs have been constructed on less. Have they? Have they really? Because this is the most bizarre, convoluted theory. No, I digress. We still have the first theory, which was Prince Eric is Hook's father. That might be the most convoluted. But this one's up there. This one's up there with the most convoluted. No. This is ridiculous. Why does this theory keep popping up? No. Just no. The dragon is Mushu from Mulan. Why? Because he's a dragon? I bet you that's what it says. While the dragon from Once Upon a Time couldn't be any less like Mushu, yeah. The jokester dragon from Disney's Mulan, who was voiced by Eddie Murphy, some fans argue that the two are one and the same. Sure. No. There isn't much evidence to support the theory aside from the dragon's location and presumed culture, which makes it a stretch, although still possible. I mean, I'll give it to them. It makes more sense than the Hook is Jack Sparrow and Emma is Elizabeth Swan, but, that's not saying much. What makes this theory more interesting are the fans who speculate that Mushu is also Mulan's parent or grandparent, which would be an interesting twist from the animated tale. Here's the thing. If the dragon was gonna be Mushu, or was supposed to be Mushu, I'm gonna need the dragon to do more, because the dragon didn't really do anything. If I'm being honest, the dragon was kind of meh. And I think if you're gonna make the dragon an iconic character like Mushu, you need to do more with him. And you didn't. So, while it's more plausible than the Jack Sparrow Elizabeth Swan being Captain Hook and Emma Swan, we're still not rolling with it. No. No, thank you. The Neverland Mermaids worked for Ursula. Whatever. It's a simple idea as far as fan theories go. The mermaids of Peter Pan fame, whom Rumpelstiltskin and Captain Hook both declare dangerous and untrustworthy, are also minions of the sea witch Ursula. It also doesn't happen to mean much, as interesting as it is to theorize, unless we start connecting the dots between her father and uncle as well. Sure. Fans speculate that it was Ursula, with her divine Greek powers, who taught the mermaids how to summon sea storms. It makes sense given that most people who utilize magic on the show had teachers who shared their knowledge at some point. Again, this is another one where it's like, yeah, it makes sense. But Ursula, much like the dragon, was barely a character. Like, she was like a sidekick to the sidekick to the sidekick. Like, when you think the Queens of Darkness, you got, Maleficent, you got Cruella, you got Regina in there. Ursula is like fifth in line to the Queens of Darkness at this point. Like, and it's like, with her barely being a character, it's like, yeah, if they had, explored that a little bit more, maybe, but like, with Ursula barely being a character, it's like, okay, like, yeah, it's possible. It's just kind of useless. Like, it's just a fun little thing to speculate, but like, ultimately, there's absolutely nothing else to go with it. So, yeah, I guess it makes sense, but why? Regina cursed herself with infertility. I mean, yeah. Yeah, we knew that. With unlimited power and suitors, not to mention her disdain for gold and his favors, it makes no sense that the evil queen couldn't conceive a child or magically create one. Yeah, obviously. The only plausible explanation is that she can't do it without help. I mean, well, everybody kind of needs help. I'm not doing the birds and the bees talk on this channel, but yeah, it just... Some fans theorize that Regina rendered herself infertile by magic in order to never give birth to a child she didn't want by the king she had to marry. Others say that it might have been the price of much of her dark magic. Either way, it would make sense, especially since she's able to use magic for most other things. Yeah, I swear this was confirmed. Did we or did we not see her drink a potion or whatever? I swear we saw her drink a potion. I mean, look. She was forced to marry a king that she didn't love. Her mother was psychotic. Like, it makes sense that she wouldn't want a child with the king. And a child that her mother could then manipulate and use the same way she did with Regina. Like, does it or does it not make sense? And was it or was it not confirmed? Because I swear it was. We saw her drinking a potion, right? These theories, I swear they exist in the show. But okay. Robin Hood was Snow White's mentor. Wasn't it technically Hercules? Or am I misremembering things? Anyways, how perfect would it be if the future lover of Snow White's villainous stepmother was the person who gave her the tutelage to take her out in the first place? That would be interesting. Snow had to learn her archery skills somewhere, and given how adept she seemed at the sport, it would make sense that she would learn from the best. Who better to assist her in besting the queen than a man who lost his own wife to the evil queen? It's a theory so deliciously perfect that fans pretty much pretend it's canon. I mean, it's possible, but I think we kind of saw it with Hercules and Snow White, but I will admit that I could be remembering that wrong because that was the Underworld arc, and that's a blur because I don't particularly care for that arc. I mean, it's possible that she learned more with Robin Hood. I just kind of of wish we would have seen it if that was the case, but yeah. I mean, I can get on board with that. I can get on board with that. That could work. Gideon isn't evil. Well, no, duh. Writing the son of the noble Belle as one of the worst villains of all time was a cruel trick to play on fans. I'm going to stop right there. I'm sorry. Were we watching the same show? One of the worst villains of all time. Gideon. The math ain't mathin'. The math ain't mathin'. I'm sorry. You cannot tell me that people believe that statement. That Gideon was the worst villain of all time. One of the worst villains of all time. We got Cruella. Pan is the worst villain. Rumple's the worst villain. Regina's the worst villain. Zelina. Mother Gothel. Lady Tremaine. Rapunzel Tremaine. One of the worst villains of all time. Who is believing that statement? One of the weakest villains of all time. Yeah, we can roll with that. Gideon was not a good villain. He was not the worst. He wasn't even the best at being the worst. He wasn't even the worst at being the best. Like, this dude was so mid-level as a character. Forget as a villain, as a hero, whatever. Just as a character. And you want to tell me that he is one of the worst villains? Rewind that. We're not doing that. Anyways, especially since it turned out that Gideon wasn't evil all along, proving that fan theory right. Yeah. Like, that's what I'm saying. Is like, he wasn't evil, obviously, but like, he wasn't even like... This theory is stupid. Because it's true, and it's confirmed in the show. Those who held steady with Belle despite the many times the Dark One's evil seemed to twist, override, and make a mockery of her goodness found validation in their long-held beliefs when the family was reunited. Sure, whatever. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but okay. Fans knew that so many warnings from her unborn yet somehow grown son had to mean that Gideon wasn't as dark as he seemed. Can we call them theories if the show outright confirmed that this is what was happening? Were we just collecting theories from throughout the show? And we're like, yeah, this is a good theory, even though it was proved to be true later on? Because that's the only thing that makes sense. Because if we're wrapping this all up by the end of the show or whatever, or even by the end of the 6 seasons, we knew this. Whatever. I'm moving on. This one's driving me up the wall. The Black Fairy is older than Merlin. At this point, probably. I mean, I don't know. Merlin is supposed to be so ancient that he's older than everybody else, but fans point out that the show's own logic might make the Black Fairy much older. Yeah, probably. Nearly 3 decades pass by in the Dark Realm for a day in our world. Nearly 3 decades pass by in the Dark Realm for a day in our world. So it stands to reason that not only is Fiona older than Merlin, but she's quite possibly the oldest person alive. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, all right, I'm seeing it now. Okay. I like this theory more than the other one. which wasn't a theory, but whatever. Even if the darkness claims that Merlin is the oldest being alive, it's all relative, as each realm has its own time frame and rules. I mean, yeah, obviously. But yeah, that's true, because Gideon was raised in the dark realm, and he's now older, and yeah, no, I mean, yeah. Black Fairy is older than Merlin. I buy it. It makes sense. What in the world are we doing? Emma is mentally unwell and invented the whole thing. Now, why does this theory pop up in every fantasy thing? Why? Why does this theory always pop up? This is a popular theory fans love to assign to just about any fandom from Harry Potter to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I gotta go find that theory. If anybody knows how the mentally unwell and made the whole thing up relates to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, let me know in the comments down below, because I never heard that one. The Harry Potter one I did. Marvel Cinematic Universe. Who's mentally unwell and created the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Let me know in the comments down below. Some fans claim that Once Upon a Time is an invention of Emma Swan's mind. Yes. She is traumatized and living out the fantasy in her mind. Sure. The theory varies regarding why Emma is unwell, from her being abandoned as a child to the idea that she really did end up in our world as a refuge from another country or even realm. So realms exist, is what you're saying. Left unable to cope with the loss of her family and homeland. Okay. So, as we established, basically anytime any sort of fantasy type universe exists, fans love to go, somebody's unstable and it's all in their head. Why can't we just have nice things? Why can't we just have nice things? I'm going to go with no. Just because while it holds merit like it does with everything else, it's just... I'm going to be frank, it's a stupid theory. It's a stupid theory. Regina is Emma's wife. Now, this I can get on board with. Swan Queen lives. No, this is going to connect to the other one, isn't it? Because how is this a theory otherwise? Okay. It's not enough to conceive the idea that Emma made up the entire Enchanted Forest curse in her ongoing quest as the savior to cope with her own mental trauma, because, yeah, I see. The only way I can get Swan Queen as canon is if Emma is mentally unstable and invented the whole thing in her head. So it's a lose-lose situation for me. The fan theory is expanded with another idea, that Regina is Emma's wife, and Henry is their son, or the son they lost, which may have been the source of her trauma. Oh, so now that's the source of her trauma. Okay. It would explain Emma's love-hate relationship with Regina and her complicated feelings for the son she gave up for adoption. It's such a wild idea that actually makes sense. Define makes sense, because it really doesn't. But I digress. It's just sad that the only way I can get Swan Queen being canon is if Emma is mentally unwell and recreated this whole thing in her head. I guess. Madam Mim is one of the 8. Ooh, we're back to Coven of 8 theories. So, now we got Regina, apparently. We got Mother Gothel. We got Drusilla. We got Zelina. We got Winifred, Sarah, and Mary. and Madam Mim, I guess. Yeah, that makes 8. Except we also had the blind witch and the doctor who got dead. So, the Coven of 10? Remember the Coven of 8? Vaguely. The team of evil witches who send everyone to Hyperion Heights. Some fans loved the idea of Madame Mim being among the most powerful and dreaded witches in the show. I mean, I would love that too, but that's besides the point. Since many of the unknown witches became trees and weren't ever discussed again, it's difficult to pinpoint their true identities. So it's not a bad guess to say that one of them could have been Mim. Other identities fans have suggested for the 8 include Jadis, I'm pronouncing that wrong, of the Chronicles of Narnia. Okay. Baba Yaga. I grew up with the legend of Baba Yaga, but that's besides the point. And even Queen Narcissa from Enchanted? Well, we sure pulled that rabbit out of a hat now, didn't we? Oh, Baba Yaga. It just brings back so many childhood memories. I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, look, it's sort of the same thing I have with the Sanderson sisters being part of the Coven of 8. Is it's like, okay, it's fun, I guess, but the show didn't do anything with them, so why should I care, essentially? And yeah. Baba Yaga. Now I am more convinced than ever that we are just taking theories that existed over the course of the time the show was running and went with it. Because now we have Alice is Hook's daughter. Yeah. Confirmed in the show. Do I have to read this? If we already have it confirmed, do I have to read it? Because I already read the Gideon one. I'm pretty sure the Regina one was confirmed too, and I read that one. Do I have to read this one? I guess I do. It was a theory clear to all who saw it and is now canon. Obviously, we're admitting this. As Hook's love for Emma Swan, and is now as canon as Hook's love for Emma Swan. There we go. That makes more sense. Not only did Captain Hook have a daughter, but he was the father of Alice, whose mother was none other than Gothel. Yeah, that's its own issue. Sure, the story showed us another side of Hook that confirms his mostly good heart, and yet another instance of his lack of revenge on Rumpelstiltskin. But it also made some fans a bit wary. Made fans a lot of angry, that I remember. After all this time, we only learned of Alice late in the game. Because it's a different Hook. It's Wish Realm Hook. It's one of those big surprises that, while still fun in some ways, was annoying in others. You know what's annoying? That this theory is on the list. Madam Mim is the Jabberwocky or Lily's father. Madam Mim is Lily's father or the Jabberwocky is Lily's father? Because no, they're not Lily's father. That is Zorro. Because of all the things Once Upon a Time had to do was reveal the identity of Lily's father as Zorro, who makes the sign of the Z. Like, what? Oh, this show is ridiculous. Okay. If she's not one of the Coven of 8, And she's not a former Dark One or even Madame Faustina. Just who could Madame Mim be on Once Upon a Time? Have we considered nobody? Have we considered nobody as an option? The idea that she could be the Jabberwocky or Lily's father is one of the coolest fan theories of the show. I mean, the Jabberwocky angle is kind of cool. Lily's father is weird. The Jabberwocky, though she was eventually set free, was never given much of her own story. This is an intriguing concept for her. For Jabberwocky? For Madame Mim? What are we talking about? Okay. The second theory in particular would have brought some diverse representation to the show, as well as given it a nice twist, especially since the idea of a dragon named Zorro, we didn't confirm it was a dragon, is pretty ridiculous, and Mim's a well-established dragon. Okay, so if we wanted to say that Zorro is a dragon, fine. Madame Mim can be Zorro and can be Lily's father. We'll allow it. They never said that Zorro was a dragon. They just said Zorro was Lily's father. Maleficent does have the ability to turn into human as well as dragon, so it's very possible that she conceived Lily while in human form with another human. You can't name drop Zorro and just be like, oh yeah. But not that Zorro. Zorro the dragon. No. You can't name drop Zorro and not expect us to be the one who makes the sign of the Z. Okay? So we're going to go no to the dragon of Zorro. And we can go with Madame Mim as the Jabberwocky, because that could be fun. But Zorro the dragon's a no-go. More and more I'm regretting doing this list. Rapunzel is the evil stepmother. Obviously! Okay. Fans of Mandy Moore Entangled may be put out by this plot twist, but many fans of the show were elated to see the heroine portrayed as the villain once again. Yeah, we loved that. Rapunzel being wicked was a palate cleanser after the saccharine. I butchered that entirely, but whatever. Inclusions of Frozen and Brave. Quit hating on Frozen and quit hating on Brave if you're going to keep bringing up these stupid theories. Which felt more promotional material for Disney rather than cutting-edge adaptations we had come to expect. Yeah, sure, whatever. Witnessing Rapunzel revealed as the evil stepmother was a twist that helped maintain the show's original innovation. Yes, okay, cool. We love that. We're moving on. It's confirmed. We're moving on. Ariel and Rumpelstiltskin's secret connection. If you were about to tell me that Ariel and Rumpelstiltskin are having some sort of affair, I'm out. It sounds pretty far-fetched on the surface, but the fan theory that Ariel, aka the Little Mermaid, and Rumpelstiltskin had a previous romance is plausible. No. Absolutely not. What is wrong with you? It's certainly possible for the evil mastermind to have had many girlfriends. And yeah, the Ariel is not one of them. An even more popular plot, however, is that Rumple convinced Ariel to give him one of her scales, somehow allowing him to enter other worlds via use of her mermaid magic. Well, it's not a canon story. It's a cool theory that could have been explored on the show. No. Absolutely not. Okay, here's the thing. There is one point of this theory that I could get on board with, and that is that Rumple somehow convinced Ariel to give him one of her scales. We can get on board with that. Why everything gotta be a romance, though? Why we gotta put Ariel and Rumpelstiltskin together? You know what? That might be my next ship or not video. And spoiler alert, it's a not. Ariel and Rumpelstiltskin, what? No. Absolutely not. No. 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 All right, we have made it to the end of this list of theories. Should put bunny quotes around that because most of these were confirmed. I swear we had like 5 or 6 that were confirmed. And they outright admitted that they were confirmed. So why are they on this list? They're not theories anymore if they've been confirmed, okay? That's not what theories are. But I digress. There was a long list. I want to cut out all the ones that weren't theories. But let me know, which one of these was your favorite? Which one do you think is plausible? Which one do you think is not plausible? Are you annoyed as I am that they put in things that clearly were not theories and confirmed by the show on this list? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below.